All right, guys, welcome back to this week's special episode on Wikipedia, where we take your personal requests for something that you want to know about, do a little research, look it up, and we tell you everything you want to know. So, this episode, we got a little special guest speaker here. His name is the future, drumroll please, future Dr. Jeremy Logan Levitt. Jeremy, how you doing today, man?
Good, Colton. I'm really glad to be on your show today. It's been too long since you told me I was going to be on your show, but I'm glad I'm here today.
I know. We got a lot of guest speakers. Last week we had Kanye in here. We just got a lot of people on our list that we try to keep the viewers getting what they want. But this week was something a little selfish of me. I took something with my friend here because he's been a personal friend since we were about 8 years old. And Jeremy, I just like to let you know, welcome to the show, welcome to this episode, and give you a little secret about the show. What we do and how we specialize in our audience is we give a clear, uncut, raw, straight out of our mouths, no script, right to the people. So, Jeremy, I said this joking before, but now I'm really feeling it. Jeremy and I, we used to have a little group back in the days. We were called the Rooftop Boys.
We rocked that.
We rocked it hard back in high school. And, I'm feeling it, Jared. Drop me a beat. Let's hit it.
I say before we can give him a beat, you got to give him a little history on our band, how it came together.
Well, one day we were just sitting on a roof, taking off some shingles, driving some nails in, and decided to write a rap about a friend that is our friend now, but we had some rough goes with him. A little vent sesh. But all right, Rooftop Boys, hit it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Dropping bars in the studio with my best bro. We doing all day, talking on a podcast show. Yeah, Wikipedia, talking, bringing to you all this action, all this news about all of this food. Any random fact that you want to know about. We're doing this straight out of our uncut mouths. If we cuss a little bit, I apologize, but it's okay because we're doing this all live. It's okay. Hit it, Jer, all dang day. Yeah, doing this all day. We rap about that, yay. Oh, okay, that's all for now. A little sneak peek of what we used to bring to people.
Coming out 2019 October, our new hit.
Drop our record, 4B. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, got the crowd hyped a little bit. Jer, I'd like to tell you a little more about this show. We have about 3,000 avid listeners nowadays. We've been doing this for about 7 years. And each week we do a special segment on the special recipe of the week. Usually we take people's emails and requests or they send us in something. But this week I really wanted to talk about something that I've been missing quite a lot. And that is my mom's special recipe, very dear to my heart, and the recipe of her country-style boneless pork ribs and rice.
The best ribs you will have.
Oh, I brought Jeremy on here because he, like myself, has eaten them several times in his lifetime. And honestly, I think he'll agree with me on this. They have been the best every time, getting better every time with Tammy's cooking.
No doubt.
So, I guess we're just going to get into it now that we've talked about the food a little bit. With each week, Jeremy, we do a little history just to keep the viewers informed and keep them learning about something on Wikipedia. And our history lesson that we give, we usually pick an ingredient on this week's segment, and we pick an ingredient that we do a little background research to see what it is, where it came from, how it came to be, and the essentiality, if that's even a word, of that ingredient to this entire recipe. So, let me just tell you the ingredients of what goes in Mama Chow's country-style ribs and rice. It is 2/3 cups sugar, 2/3 cups ketchup, 1/3 cup vinegar, 2 teaspoons of dried mustard, 1/3 cup of soy sauce, 1.5 cups of water, 6 shakes of garlic salt, 2 to 3 pounds of country-style pork boneless ribs. So, in this recipe, although there's only 1/3 cup of soy sauce, the soy sauce, I will say, is essential. Because without that, you honestly just have some garlic ketchup water. So, let me tell you a little bit about soy sauce in this recipe.
Let me pause you, Colton. What does 6 shakes mean?
Oh, old Tammy, she was always very particular and meticulous with her recipes, and she always decides to make them and kind of eyeballs things. She doesn't really have a teaspoon, tablespoon set on some things, so she just honestly kind of wings it.
Very impressive.
Each time
6,
is just
not
as good
5,
as the last.
Not 7, but 6.
6 shakes, exactly. Good old Tammy. I'll let her know you said that. So, getting into soy sauce here, Jeremy, did you know that soy sauce has Chinese origins that date all the way back to the Han Dynasty?
I had an idea, but tell me more.
Let me tell you a little bit more about this Han Dynasty and soy sauce. It originated from a fermented paste of soybeans, roasted grain, brine, and then a mold called Aspergillus oryzae. Honestly,
Wow.
don't even know if I'm saying that word right, but that's what it said on Wikipedia. And so I did a little more research, did a little more digging, and I found out that this soy sauce, when it originated, it was just a soy paste that started out. Some people put it to kind of like, spread the salt a little further. They fermented fish with it, put it on fish, and then eventually, after the Han Dynasty, after a Zhou Dynasty and whatnot, the Song Dynasty was actually responsible for terming it soy sauce in the liquid form. And this soy sauce, just kind of kept growing and growing, spread throughout Southeast Asia, went to Japan, went to Korea, Vietnam, and then eventually made its way over to Europe. And then, as we know it now, traditional soy sauce is everywhere.
Wow.
Puts it with everything. You can eat it with sushi, you can eat it with just rice.
Can you eat it just by itself?
I mean, you can even eat it just by itself.
Wouldn't recommend it. But
There are some health benefits to soy sauce.
what are the health benefits?
Let me tell you these health benefits. So, there was a study done by the National University of Singapore, and it actually showed that traditional Chinese dark soy sauce contains 10 times the antioxidants of red wine and can actually help prevent cardiovascular diseases. It is rich in lactic acid, bacteria, and all the anti-allergic potential. So it's got a lot of good things going with it.
Wow.
Honestly, it surprised me because the only thing I think of when I taste just plain soy sauce is a little salty.
That's right. That is very salty.
But that is because I'll tell you a little bit about the production process of traditional soy sauce. The first step they soak the soybeans in water, and then they boil them till they're cooked, and then they roast the wheat, and then they crush it, and then after that, equal amounts of the boiled soybeans and the roasted wheat are mixed together to form a grain mixture, and then where they do a wet mix, they mix it with the Aspergillus spore. Still don't know if I'm saying it right. I'll say it 3 different times before I figure it out. But they mix it with that, and then they start the brewing process. So then they'll throw in salt brine for the wet fermentation, or if they want to do a little bit more of a dry fermentation, they'll throw it in with just coarse salt. So it's left to brew for a while. Then after that, over time, the Aspergillus mold on the soy and wheat break down the grain proteins into free amino acid and protein fragments, and then the starches into simple sugars. So, kind of a fancy Bill Nye the Science Guy thing. Don't know how the Han Dynasty figured it out, but they did. And so what happens is this aminoglycosidic reaction gives the soy sauce its dark brown color, and the lactic acid bacteria ferments sugars into lactic acid, and then yeast makes ethanol, which through aging and secondary fermentation makes numerous flavor compounds typical in many soy sauces. So the last step second to last step, after they fully ferment the grain, it's placed into a cloth-lined container, and then they press it and separate the solids from the liquid soy sauce. And solids, they don't waste a whole lot. They throw all the solids in as fertilizer, or they feed it to animals, and the liquid soy sauce, that is processed a little bit further. They send it through a pasteurization process where they heat it to eliminate any active yeasts or molds that remain, and they filter it to remove any of the fine particles, and then after that, they bottle it and sell it up. So, that's a little bit of history.
Sounds pretty complicated there.
Yeah. Tell you what, it was a little complicated learning all that, but we do it for the viewers. We do it for you guys back home. So going into a little bit more about this particular food item. Jeremy, I just want to ask you a question before I tell them how to make it.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was your first impression on tasting my mother's ribs and rice?
Very good question. When I was probably 10 or so, the first time I was able to try Colton's mother's famous ribs. They went by really fast because everyone wanted them, so I was lucky to get a couple pieces. Mostly Colton took all the pieces, but he gave me a few.
I was a little chunk back in the day, I won't lie.
Now he's a stick. But But the first impression that I had was the warm, juicy texture that was present after you cut into it with a knife, and then even more so when you put it in your mouth, and just the amazing blend of those 6 shakes of, as mentioned earlier, of the seasonings and everything else combined just made a waterfall of juicy flavors, and it was really amazing.
Man, that is a lot better than we bargained for on this show. That was a great impression of Mother's food. And I thank you for that, and I'll let her know firsthand. She does listen sometimes, but sometimes I have to make her sit down and listen to our podcast show because she gets a little distracted. But let me go into the directions here then. So the first thing that's done is after you buy all the ingredients, get them all set aside, you place all those boneless ribs into a cooking pan. You spread them out evenly, and you set that aside while you begin putting all the other ingredients in a larger bowl. Mix all the ingredients besides the ribs together in a bowl. Doesn't matter which order, doesn't matter which one you do last or first, but you just mix them all together and you're going to create a sauce. And this sauce, you're just going to drizzle it right over the top of the ribs. You're going to make sure it's evenly spread, make sure it's touching everything. And there will be an excess of sauce, but that is the most crucial part, in my opinion, because afterwards you didn't put the sauce on the rice. But as you put it in the pan,
the sauce on the rice is the best part.
Have mercy, some kids would say. But so after that, you're going to put it all in the pan, cover it with some foil, then you preheat the oven to 325 degrees. After, you place that in, and you just let that cook and let it soak and bake up and broil up for 3 hours. It's a little bit longer of a process to cook, but if you cook it too fast, then you're going to lose all that juicy goodness that Jeremy was talking about.
How do you know, Colton, when it is done? That's the hardest part, is trying to perfect this recipe, is knowing when exactly to take it out.
So after the 3 hours when you take it out, that is a very good question. You want to make sure, first of all, you want to make sure these ribs are thawed completely if you froze them a little bit, or you want to make sure that they're completely fresh and no ice chunks or anything in there. But when you take it out, it's honestly the key and the secret is to the texture of the meat. You grab a fork and you should be able to dig right through the fork, right through the rib meat, and just spread it across, and it should just tear off like butter. Wow. And that's the secret, because if it's still a little hard, still a little stuck together, you either overcooked it or you undercooked it. So after the 3 hours, this is where, while it's cooking in there, you want to get your rice going. Now you can time this out perfectly. You can get the rice freshly cooked, or you can put it in a rice cooker, set it on warm, whichever you prefer. I prefer to do the rice as it's cooking, just so I can have it all ready at the same time. Then you get the rice cooked, and after that's all done, you carefully remove the pan because there will be a lot of juices in there. And after you remove that pan from the oven, you just set it down, leave it for a minute, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes because they will be boiling hot. And then I couldn't tell you anything other than the fact that you just grab your desired portion of ribs, grab your desired portion of rice.
Slap it on there.
Slap it on there. You want to get some of that sauce all over that rice because that sauce is delicious. Honestly, I didn't know until I started looking further into this particular recipe, all of the work that went into this, but bless your heart, Tammy. You really done well for us.
Mama Chow, we thank you.
We thank you deeply. And I asked her before I did this show, where did this recipe come from? How did it originate? And she told me she was actually eating at a friend's house back in the day, and her friend made a more barbecue-based, just a country-style ribs, and had it with mashed potatoes and whatnot. And my mom decided to take the recipe and give it a few tweaks. That's why she decided to throw in 6 shakes of garlic salt.
Wow, I did not know this.
Threw a few tweaks in there, added some soy sauce, and changed the base from potatoes to rice, and there we have it. Her delicious entree that we have begged her for years to throw in the Eastern Idaho State Fair, but who knows if she'll do that someday.
That is true. That and your famous fries your family makes as well.
Oh, we have a lot of things. Maybe we'll throw that on one of our future episodes here on Wikipedia. So, I gotta know, Jer, I know you haven't personally tried to reincorporate these ribs in your own personal home.
I have not.
But after hearing kind of the simplicity that's behind it, do you think you'll go home and you and your wife will give this recipe a try?
Absolutely, Colton. The only downfall is that no one will ever make it the same, no matter how hard you try, as does Colton's mom. So we will give our best shot, but regardless, I'll never be as good as it was growing up.
Oh man, that is the sad truth about life. The only thing I know I can make better than my mother is her recipe for brownies. I'll put that on an episode later on this
What
year.
kind of brownies are you making?
Not that special kind of brownies, but I'm talking about the special from the heart brownies from scratch. She debates me over it all the time, but I really think that I've got it nailed down. But these ribs and rice, I can honestly say there is not a soul living right now that could make it better than Tammy Fairchild. I'll give a shout out to her and all of our viewers out there. This was just a fun little episode we decided to shoot today, and I'd like to thank you personally for coming on this show, Jer. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers back home about this dish or about anything in life?
I will say it's definitely been worth the wait, Colton. I'm very glad that you had me on the show today, and I will say that if you can, make sure that you took the simple hints that Colton gave about the techniques that are needed in the recipe to make it perfect. Because I promise you will never have a better set of ribs than the ribs that Colton's mom has made.
Now, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when you purchase the ribs, crucially, make sure you don't get too much fat. Make sure you don't get
very important.
little amounts of fat. You want to have the most perfect ribs you can find in that market, that store, wherever you're shopping. But other than that, make sure the meat's a little tender. Make sure it has no bones, because my parents, they have experimented a little bit. They've made it with bones, which you can do, but the boneless, it is just not the same.
Way more meat. And as well, Colton didn't mention this, but from observing the ribs, they're always about like 6 to 7 inches long and like 2.5 inches wide, which is the perfect width and length for a perfect rib in this recipe.
That is a very good point. I don't know if I'm going to have to ask her if they ever cut them. I don't know that they did cut them, but I just think that's how they bought them and the style of ribs that they purchased. But yes, there are a few little techniques, and I think that's why no one will ever be able to make it as good as Tammy did, because no one knows her real secrets. It was kind of a fight to get this recipe from her so I could put it on the air for all of our thousands of listeners out there today. But she did like me to tell you guys, give it a try, and it is delicious and it could change your life. Now, my challenge for all of you guys and my invitation is to give this particular recipe a try. Give it a shot at your home. Send me your emails. Send me your pictures. You know we love hearing from you guys back home. And if you want to throw any tweaks to set your particular needs for your home and your family, say your kids don't like soy sauce at all. Say they don't like ketchup. Throw something else in the mix. Send it back to us and let us know. And who knows, maybe you could be this future Dr. Jeremy Logan Levitt on my show for one of our segments of Wikipedia. Now, Jeremy, as you know, on this show we do a lot of special requests. We do a lot of interviews. We do a lot of special things just so the viewer can get exactly what they want. Now, I'd like to give you all a sneak peek of what we're going to be looking forward to in our next episode. Now, Jeremy, I talked to you briefly about it before. I've given you a few more details that I will withhold from the crowd just to give them something to want. But this next week, Jer, we are going to be talking and discussing traffic cones. I know traffic cones sounds a little like, okay, sounds cool. Like tubular traffic cones, who cares? But, Jeremy, don't tell anyone in the audience anything that I told you, but is it a little more entertaining than what sounds like?
The traffic cones?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course. As what you told me, so I don't want to ruin or spoil anything, but what you've told me, it'll be a very good segment coming up.
Well, I am very excited that the viewers are going to be getting what they're wanting, so tune in next time where we discuss traffic cones. Where'd they come from? Why are they here? What on earth do we need them for? And I will give you all just a little brief taste of what's next to come. Next week, we'll talk about the traffic cones. We also are going to talk about dogs, different breeds, different mixes, and I just got a lot of things in the making for you guys back home. And remember, this has been another episode of Wikipedia, uncut, unfiltered, straight directly from our mouths for you, the listeners. Thank you for tuning in on this very special episode, and we hope to hear a lot from you guys. Send us your pictures. Send us your videos. Give
Don't-
us a call.
And don't forget to add Mama Chow on Facebook and message her.
Tammy Fairchild is her name. Let her know thanks. But you guys have an outstanding day, and tune in next time to Walkopedia.